AITA for locking my girlfriend out after finding her video calling her ex at night? Hi, I'm a 38-year-old man, and I work in construction, doing concrete and foundation work. It's backbreaking work, but it pays well. And I own my house because my old man taught me not to get into debt over stupid stuff. I had been with my girlfriend, Cassidy, who is 29, for 2 years. She works part-time at an upscale clothing store downtown called Gilded Petal, or something equally pretentious. She makes $16 an hour, maybe 25 hours a week on a good week. Cassidy moved into my place about 8 months ago when her lease was up. Nothing official on paper, just a verbal agreement that she'd help with utilities and groceries. Looking back, that should have been the first red flag. She never wanted anything official. She always had some excuse about maintaining her financial independence or keeping things flexible. I thought I was supporting a modern woman who wanted her autonomy. Turns out, I was just being a complete fool. Our town isn't big, about 28,000 people, so everyone knows everyone else's business. Cassidy grew up here, went to the local high school, the whole small-town princess thing. I moved here about 12 years ago when the construction boom started. I still felt like an outsider sometimes, which probably explains why I was so invested in making it work with someone who had deep roots here. Tuesday night, October 17th. I remember the exact date because it was the day everything changed. I got home completely exhausted after a 14-hour day of pouring concrete. We were working on the foundation for a new strip mall on the edge of town, and concrete waits for no one. My back felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer to it. My clothes were covered in cement dust, and all I wanted was a hot shower and maybe some leftover Chinese food. But there was Cassidy, sitting in the living room with an expression I'd never seen on her before, serious, almost calculating. She had her hands folded in her lap, like she was about to give a presentation. "Silas, we need to talk. Now." Any man who's been in a relationship for more than 5 minutes knows those 5 words are basically the relationship death sentence. My stomach dropped. I thought maybe she wanted to talk about the future, or was pregnant, or wanted to move out. I never imagined what was coming. I grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge and slumped into the chair across from her. "What's up? I've been thinking about us, and I need some space to process our relationship, just for a week or 2. Can you sleep in the living room so I can have the bedroom to myself?" I stared at her for a solid 45 seconds, thinking I'd misheard. "You want me to sleep on my own couch, in my own house, so you can process our relationship?" She got defensive immediately. "It's not like that, Silas. I just need some mental space. The bedroom feels like our space, and I need it to be just my space for a little while so I can think clearly about where we're going." Red flags were going off everywhere, but when you're in love, you make excuses for their behavior, even when your gut is screaming at you that something is wrong. I figured maybe she was stressed from work or having an identity crisis. "Cassidy, if you need space, why don't you go to your mom's for a few days? Or I can stay with my buddy Mitch. Why do I have to sleep on my own couch?" "Because I need to be here, in our space, but have it be mine temporarily. I know it sounds weird, but it's really important to me. Can you just trust me on this?" Yes. She used the word trust while asking me to vacate my own bedroom to give her privacy in my house. The irony wasn't lost on me. Still, I should have said no. I should have told her that if she needed space, she could find it somewhere else. But I was tired, confused, and afraid of starting a huge fight without knowing what was going on. So, like an idiot, I agreed. I grabbed my pillow and a blanket and set up camp on the couch like a guest in my own home. Cassidy smiled at me, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her all night, and said, "Thank you for understanding, Silas. It won't be for long, I promise." That was Tuesday night. If I knew then what I know now, I would have packed her bags right then and there and saved myself months of trouble. Wednesday and Thursday went by in a kind of haze. Cassidy acted completely normal during the day. She'd make coffee in the morning, tell me about her shift at the store. She even suggested we order pizza and watch Netflix on Wednesday night. But when it was time for bed, she'd disappear into my bedroom and close the door, not locked, just closed, as if creating an invisible barrier I wasn't supposed to cross. Both nights, around 11:30, I could hear her talking. Hushed voices, the kind you use when you're trying not to be overheard. Wednesday night, I figured it was her sister, Erin. They talk constantly, usually about their mom's health issues or the messy custody battle Erin's going through. Thursday night, Same thing, about an hour of quiet conversation that I tried my best to ignore. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop or anything. The house isn't huge. It's a 1,200 square foot ranch, and the living room shares a wall with the master bedroom. Sound just carries, whether you want it to or not. But I was trying to respect this space she claimed to need. So I kept my headphones in and minded my own business. Friday night changed absolutely everything. I was lying there scrolling through Reddit, probably looking at construction fails or something equally mindless, when I heard her talking again. But this time, something felt different. The tone was softer, more intimate, and it definitely wasn't a quick few-minute call. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I muted my phone and just listened. At first, I couldn't make out the words, just the rhythm of a back-and-forth conversation or voice, and clearly a man's voice coming through her phone's speaker. She must have had him on a video call or on speakerphone because I could hear both sides perfectly. After about 30 minutes, I got up to use the bathroom, which meant walking past the bedroom door. It was cracked open maybe 4 inches, just enough to hear everything perfectly. I stood in the hallway for probably 10 minutes, listening to my girlfriend have what was obviously an intimate conversation with another man. They weren't talking about work or family or anything remotely platonic. They were talking about their day, about missing each other, about plans for some kind of future together. And just as I was about to walk away and pretend I hadn't heard anything, it happened. "Good night, babe. I love you too," she said, clear as day. Then his voice from the phone, "Sweet dreams, Cassidy. Love you too, beautiful." It felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I was literally nauseous. I just stood there in my own hallway, listening to my girlfriend tell another man she loved him while I was banished to my couch because she needed space to process our relationship. I went back to the living room and stared at the ceiling for the rest of the night. I didn't sleep a minute, just replaying those words in my head. "Love you too, beautiful." The casual way he said it, like it was routine, like this wasn't the first time. Saturday morning, Cassidy left for her shift at the clothing store as if absolutely nothing had happened. She kissed me on the cheek and mentioned she'd probably be late because they were doing inventory. As soon as her car was out of the driveway, I went into full-on detective mode. I'm not normally a suspicious guy. I don't check phones or browser histories or any of that jealous boyfriend paranoia stuff. But what I heard the night before flipped a switch in my brain. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I started with her laptop. Cassidy isn't exactly tech-savvy, and her MacBook was just sitting open on the kitchen counter. No password, of course. I checked the browser history first, lots of Facebook, some shopping sites, nothing suspicious. Then I remembered she does everything personal on her phone. Her phone was in the bedroom, charging on the nightstand. I know her passcode because she's used it in front of me probably 100 times. Her birthday. Not exactly high-level security. I unlocked it and went straight to recent calls. Trent Morrison. Every single night for the last 2 weeks, almost always at the same time. Calls ranging from 50 minutes to an hour and 40 minutes. I scrolled back further. This had been going on for over a month. How the hell did I not notice? Well, I had noticed. This space request wasn't the beginning. It was just her way of making it official. She'd already been having these calls when I was in the bedroom, just quieter, probably in the bathroom or kitchen after I'd fallen asleep. The bedroom thing was just her getting bolder. Trent Morrison. The name sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Cassidy had mentioned him a few times early in our relationship. Her high school ex. She'd said they were still friends, that he still lived in town, that it was all ancient history. She even pointed out his apartment complex once when we were driving by. She said something like, "Oh, that's where Trent lives now," in a casual way that I took for maturity. Look how evolved my girlfriend is, staying friends with her ex. What a joke. I spent the next 3 hours going through her texts with him. Months and months of conversations. At first, they were innocent, just catching up, how's life, that sort of thing. But they slowly got more intimate, with her complaining about me, about how I'd gotten too comfortable and lost my spark, about how she missed feeling wanted and appreciated. His replies were exactly what you'd expect from a guy trying to poach your girlfriend. Lots of, "You deserve better," "He doesn't appreciate what he has," and "Remember how amazing we were together?" The real gut punch was a text from 3 weeks ago. "I miss you so much, Cass. When are you going to stop wasting your time with him and come back to where you belong?" She replied, "Soon." I just need to figure out the right way to handle it. Silas has been good to me, and I don't want to hurt him more than necessary. More than necessary. As if hurting me was a given. She just wanted to minimize the damage to make herself feel better. But here's where it got more interesting. There were also texts about money, about how she was tired of living paycheck to paycheck on her store salary, about needing someone who could give her real stability. Trent, apparently, had just been promoted to a shift supervisor at the plant where he works. A real prize, right? But he was making about double what Cassidy made, which in her mind made him a better prospect than the guy who was letting her live for free in his house. She was monkey branching, keeping me around for security while she tested the waters with him. And the needing space thing was her way of having the best of both worlds, my house and financial stability, but the emotional freedom to reconnect with him without feeling guilty. I put her phone back exactly where I found it and spent the rest of the day just thinking. Part of me wanted to confront her right away, but another part of me wanted to see just how far she would take this charade. Would she bring him to my house? Would she keep lying to my face while she plotted her exit strategy? I didn't have to wait long to find out. Sunday morning, I woke up with absolute clarity. I wasn't angry or emotional anymore, just cold and completely focused. Cassidy had made her decision. Now, I was going to make mine. Construction teaches you to think systematically. You can't just grab a hammer and start swinging and hope for the best. You need a plan. You need to know exactly what you're building and how you're going to build it. And you need to anticipate problems before they happen and have solutions ready. Cassidy thought she was being clever, but she'd made critical mistakes. 1. She had no legal claim to my house or anything in it. 2. She assumed I was either too nice or too stupid to figure out what was going on. And 3. She completely underestimated how much I valued loyalty and honesty above everything else. I started meticulously documenting everything. Photos of their text messages with timestamps, detailed notes on the calls when they happened, how long they were, what I overheard, and everything I could remember word for word from the "I need space" conversation. Not because I planned on any legal action, but because I wanted a clear record of how this all went down. Then I started looking into Trent, a 31-year-old guy working at a manufacturing plant, living in a 2-bedroom apartment on the south side of town. He wasn't exactly a prize catch, but hey, if Cassidy wanted to downgrade, that was her business. Still, I was curious what kind of person actively tries to take someone else's girlfriend. I checked his social media. His Facebook was wide open, no privacy settings. Lots of posts about motorcycles, fishing, typical blue-collar stuff. But what caught my eye was his relationship status. It was listed as single, but with recent posts that were clearly aimed at someone he was talking to romantically. Things like, "Can't wait to see you soon," and "Thinking about you constantly," posted around the same time Cassidy was having her nightly calls with him. The guy was just as invested in this as she was. This wasn't a casual flirtation. They were planning a future together, which meant my relationship with Cassidy was already over, whether I confronted her or not. She was just keeping me around until she felt secure enough to make the jump. That's when I decided to speed up the process for her. Cassidy thought she was playing chess, but she was really playing checkers. She thought she could control the timeline, manage everyone's emotions, minimize the drama, and keep me in the dark until she was ready to have the breakup talk on her terms. But she forgot one crucial thing. This was my house, my space, my life. And unlike her, I didn't need anyone's permission to make changes. Monday and Tuesday night, same routine. Cassidy disappearing into the bedroom, me on the couch, her having hour-plus conversations with Trent. But now I wasn't confused or hurt. I was just watching her dig her own grave deeper and deeper. On Tuesday night, I heard her tell him she loved him again, but this time she added something new. "I think I'm going to have the talk with Silas this weekend. I can't keep doing this much longer." So, I had maybe 4 more days of this charade before she sat me down to feed me some line about how we'd grown apart and she needed to find herself. She'd probably make it sound like a mutual decision or even like it was my fault. That's how these things usually go, right? Not this time. Wednesday morning, Cassidy left for work at her usual time. She was working a double shift because someone had called in sick, which meant she wouldn't be back until almost 10 p.m. Perfect. I called into my job, said I had a family emergency to deal with, which wasn't a total lie, and got to work. Priority 1, Cassidy's belongings. I packed up absolutely everything that belonged to her. And I mean everything. Clothes from the closet and dresser, shoes from the entryway, her collection of expensive skincare products from the bathroom, that ridiculous throw pillow she bought for the couch that I always hated, her yoga mat, her jewelry box, her stack of self-help books by the bed, even her frozen diet meals from the freezer. It took about 4 hours and filled 7 large trash bags and 5 cardboard boxes. I was meticulous. I checked every drawer, every shelf, every corner of the house. If it was Cassidy's, it went into a bag or a box. While I was packing, I found some very interesting things, like a shoebox hidden under her side of the bed, filled with printed-out emails and handwritten letters from Trent. They were clearly from almost 8 months ago, long before I thought they'd reconnected. Some were quite explicit about what they planned to do when they were finally together again. It made my stomach turn, but it also confirmed I was doing the right thing. I also found a notebook where she'd been planning what to say to Mebel at points on how to break up with me gently. Things like emphasize personal growth and mention needing different things. Even her breakup speech was calculated and rehearsed. When I finished packing, I loaded everything into my truck. Then came the fun part. I remembered exactly where Trent lived. Cassidy had pointed it out months ago, and I'd filed that information away without thinking much of it. The Willows apartment complex, south side of town, Building B, Unit 12, ground floor, corner unit. I drove over and confirmed it was the right place. Trent's beat-up silver D-Max was in the parking lot, meaning he was home from his shift. I carried all of Cassidy's stuff to his front door and stacked it neatly, bags, boxes, everything. Then I wrote a note on a piece of paper I had in my truck's console. Cassidy needed space to process. She's all yours now. Good luck. Silas. I taped it to his door, right above the pile of her belongings, and drove off. Next stop, the locksmith. I'd already called ahead and arranged to have the locks rekeyed that afternoon. It cost me $340 for the rush service, but it was worth every penny. By 5 p.m., Cassidy's key was useless. The locksmith, an older guy named Gene who'd done work for me on rental properties before, didn't ask any questions, but I could tell he'd seen this exact situation before. Domestic issue, he asked while installing the new deadbolt. Something like that. I replied. Well, legally, if her name's not on any paper, you're in the clear. Just don't do anything stupid when she shows up. Good advice. I had no intention of doing anything stupid. Stupid would have been letting this drag on for weeks while she crafted her perfect exit strategy. Cassidy got home around 10:15 p.m., exactly like she said. I watched her from the front window as she tried her key 4 times before she started knocking on the door. Silas. Silas. What's going on? My key isn't working. I opened the door, but left the security chain on. Just enough to talk, but not enough for her to push her way inside. Hey, Cassidy. Your stuff is at Trent's place. You should have seen her face. First, pure confusion, then total panic, and then a pathetic attempt at outrage. What are you talking about? What stuff? Silas, let me in. This is my home, too. Actually, it's not. Your name isn't on the deed, or the utilities, or anything. You've been a guest here, and now you're not. This is completely insane. You can't just kick me out. Where am I supposed to sleep? Maybe Trent can help you figure that out. You two seem pretty close lately. That's when the mask completely fell away. Her face went pale, and I saw real fear in her eyes for the first time. Silas, I don't know what you think you heard, but I heard you telling him you loved him every night for the last week, probably for a lot longer, but I only started paying attention recently. She started crying crocodile tears, a whole performance, but I was completely done with her manipulations. Silas, please, let me explain. It's not what you think. Trent and I are just friends. And yes, sometimes we say things that might sound. Save it, Cassidy. I read your texts. I know exactly what this is. More tears. Please, don't do this. I made a mistake. Okay. I was confused and scared about us, and I turned to someone I shouldn't have, but I want to fix things with you. You had 8 months to fix things with me. Instead, you decided to fix things with him. So go fix things with him. But Silas, I love you. The Trent thing doesn't mean anything. He's just the guy you're staying with tonight, and tomorrow, and every night from now on. I closed the door and threw the new deadbolt. She pounded on the door for another 15 minutes, cycling between anger, pleading, and threatening to call the police. Eventually, she gave up and left. I thought that would be the end of it. Cassidy would go to Trent's, they'd figure out their new living situation, and I'd be free of them both forever. I should have known it wouldn't be that simple. Thursday morning, my phone started blowing up with calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Cassidy, obviously trying to reach me from different phones, since I'd blocked her main number after the 5th call Wednesday night. The voicemails were a perfect blend of rage and desperation. Silas, this is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sleeping in my car because Trent says his lease doesn't allow long-term guests. You have to let me come home. I talked to my mom, and she said what you did is completely illegal. You can't just kick someone out without notice. Please, just call me. I'm scared, and I don't know what to do. I'm sorry about Trent, but it wasn't serious. You're the one I want to be with. That last one almost got to me. Almost. But then I remembered the months of planning, the notebook full of breakup strategies, the explicit texts about their future together. This wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a calculated betrayal that only went wrong because I caught her. Friday morning brought an interesting development. My phone rang, and the caller ID said, Deirdre Morrison, Cassidy's mom. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Silas, what is going on with you and Cassidy? She called me crying, saying you kicked her out and changed the locks. Hi, Deirdre. Cassidy asked me to sleep on the couch so she could have private conversations with her ex-boyfriend in my bedroom. I decided to give her all the privacy she wanted. Long silence. That doesn't sound like Cassidy. Ask her about the nightly calls with Trent. Ask her how long they've been planning their future together. Another pause. I'll talk to her. You do that. And Deirdre, I have nothing against you personally, but if Cassidy continues to harass me, I'm filing for a restraining order. Tell her to move on. That seemed to cool things down for a few days. No more unknown numbers, no more desperate voicemails. I thought maybe they'd all gotten the message. Then came Monday morning. I was on the job site, maybe 2 hours into the day, when my foreman, Mitch, walked over looking annoyed. Silas, there's a woman at the gate saying she needs to talk to you. I told her this is a construction site, not a therapy session, but she's making a scene. It was Cassidy, standing by the site trailer in her fancy store clothes, looking completely out of place among the cement mixers and scaffolding. My whole crew was watching, which meant the entire town would know about this drama by lunchtime. Cassidy, you can't be here. This is my job. I tried to call you, but you blocked my number. I tried to come to the house, but you changed the locks. How am I supposed to talk to you? You're not supposed to talk to me. We're done. Move on with your life. Silas, please, I've been sleeping in my car for 6 days. Trent won't let me stay with him because he's afraid of his lease. I can't afford a place on what I make at the store. I need to come home. The guys were definitely listening now. This was better than cable TV. That's not my problem anymore, Cassidy. You made your choice. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. You can't just destroy my entire life over one mistake. One mistake? You spent months planning to leave me. You manipulated me into sleeping on my own couch just so you could have intimate conversations with your ex. That's not a mistake. That's a deliberate pattern of lies. She started crying again, but this time it felt different. More genuine desperation, less calculated manipulation. Please, Silas, I'm begging you. I have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you decided I wasn't good enough for you. At that point, Mitch stepped in. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. This is a safety issue. Cassidy looked around at all the guys witnessing her public meltdown, and something in her face changed, like she was finally realizing how low she had sunk. This isn't over, Silas. Yeah, it is. She left, but I knew it wasn't over. Someone that desperate doesn't just disappear. And sure enough, Monday evening brought new visitors. Deirdre, Cassidy's mom, with Cassidy in tow. They were on my porch when I got home from work. Silas, Deirdre said, we need to talk. I stepped outside but didn't invite them in. About what? About Cassidy's situation. She told me about the calls with Trent. I agree it was inappropriate, but you can't just make her homeless over a relationship mistake. Deirdre, with all due respect, your daughter didn't make a relationship mistake. She was actively planning to leave me while using me for housing and financial support. That's not a mistake, that's manipulation. Cassidy jumped in. It wasn't like that. I was confused about my feelings, and Trent was helping me sort them out. By telling him you loved him every night, planning a future together, and writing down bullet points on how to dump me, Yeah, I found your notebook. Deirdre's expression completely changed. What notebook? Cassidy went white. She hadn't told her mom that part. The notebook where you mapped out strategies for breaking up with me. Things like emphasize personal growth and mention different life goals. You had the whole breakup planned out like a business presentation. Deirdre stared at her daughter. Cassidy, is that true? Mom, it's complicated. I was just trying to figure out how to handle a difficult situation. By lying to Silas for months while living in his house. They started arguing right there on my porch. Family drama I wanted no part of. Ladies, I'm going inside. Cassidy, if you come back here again, I'm calling the police for trespassing. Deirdre, I'm sorry your daughter is in a tough spot, but she created it herself. I went in the house and watched them argue in my driveway for another 30 minutes before they finally left. That was 6 weeks ago. I thought the story was over, but I got one last update yesterday that I just had to share because it's so perfect. My buddy Cody works at the same manufacturing plant as Trent. We were grabbing lunch at a diner in town when he dropped this bomb. Hey, didn't you used to date that girl Cassidy, the one who worked at the clothing store? Used to. Yeah. What? Dude, you dodged a bullet. She's been living with Trent for the last month, and apparently, it's been a total disaster. Turns out, Trent's apartment is barely 600 square feet. Cassidy's stuff took up most of the living room, and the neighbors complained about the noise when she first showed up crying and making a scene. The building manager gave him a warning about violating his lease with an unauthorized long-term guest. But here's the best part. Trent has been bragging at work about getting his girl back, but he's also been complaining nonstop about how different Cassidy is from how he remembered how she's always stressed about money, how she expects him to pay for everything, how she's pressuring him to find a bigger place they can afford together. The guy is absolutely miserable. Cody said Trent thought he was poaching someone's hot girlfriend, but what he actually got was another man's financial dependent. Cassidy quit her job at the store 2 weeks ago because she couldn't afford the gas to get there from his apartment every day. So she went from living for free in my house to being unemployed and trapped in her ex's tiny apartment, pressuring a relationship that was built on sneaking around and fantasy, not actual day-to-day compatibility. But wait, because it gets even better. Yesterday afternoon, I was working in my garage when a car pulled up. Cassidy got out, alone this time, and walked over to where I was organizing my tools. She looked awful, unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under her eyes, like she hadn't slept well in weeks. Clearly, whatever living arrangement she'd worked out wasn't working. Silas, can we talk for a minute? I kept working on my toolbox. There's nothing to talk about, Cassidy. Please. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you, but I learned my lesson. Okay. This whole thing with Trent was a huge mistake. He's not who I thought he was. Not my problem. I'm asking you to forgive me. People deserve second chances, don't they? I stopped what I was doing and got a good look at her. 6 weeks ago, she was confident, manipulative, playing people's emotions like chess pieces. Now she just looked desperate and utterly defeated. Cassidy, you didn't make a mistake. You made a series of calculated choices over a period of months. You emotionally cheated on me. You lied to my face every single day. You manipulated me into sleeping on my own couch while you had alone time with another man in my bedroom. And the only reason you're here right now is because your backup plan didn't work out the way you hoped. That's not true. Which part? The cheating, the lying, or the fact that you're only here because Trent's apartment sucks and he can't support you the way I did? She started crying again, but I was completely immune now. Silas, I'm desperate. Okay. I have nowhere to go. My mom's house is too far from any decent jobs. Trent's place is a nightmare, and I can't afford an apartment on my own. I'm asking you to help me until I can get back on my feet. You want me to help you get on your feet so you can just leave me again when something better comes along? No, I want to fix things. I want to come home. This was never your home, Cassidy. You were a guest who overstayed her welcome. I went back to organizing my tools. She stood there for another minute, then tried a different approach. What about the 2 years we were together? Does that mean nothing to you? It means something. It means I wasted 2 years on someone who was willing to throw our relationship in the trash the second she thought she found something better. Trent wasn't better. He was a mistake, right? And I'm sure the next guy you line up behind my back will be a mistake, too. She finally got angry. The fake sadness melted away, and I saw the real her underneath all the manipulation. You know what, Silas? You're not as great as you think you are. You're boring, predictable, and you have no ambition. Trent might not have worked out, but at least I tried to find something better. There it is. The truth finally comes out. What truth? That you never respected me. No, that you only ever used me. And the only reason you want to come back is because you can't find anyone else willing to support you while you look for an upgrade. She had no answer for that. Cassidy, here's what's going to happen. You're going to get in your car and you're going to leave. You're going to figure out your housing situation, your job situation, your life, and you are never going to contact me again. Because if you do, I'm going to take all those screenshots of your texts with Trent and I'm going to post them on Facebook for the whole town to see exactly what kind of person you are. Her face went completely white. In a town like ours, reputation is everything. Everyone would know what she'd done. You wouldn't dare. Try me. She stared at me for a long moment, then got back in her car without another word. And that's how it ends. Cassidy is living with Trent in his tiny apartment, probably already planning her next brand swing to someone else's couch. Trent got exactly what he thought he wanted and found out it's not nearly as good as he imagined. And I'm sleeping soundly in my own bed again, in my own house, with no drama and no one playing games with my head. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.